Today, I'm going to be talking about public speaking, or in the new Gen Z parlance, yapping, and why it is important. Now, you might be wondering, what has this got to do with artificial intelligence? A lot. AI is getting very good, you might have noticed, at a lot of tasks, including writing, coding, building, creating for us. So it's starting to push humans, us, into more narrow areas where we are actually better than the AI. Now, obviously, you can contest this, but what I personally have been doing is using AI on what AI is really good at, and then saving space, saving energy, saving time, so I can focus on things that are truly human. What I'm doing right now, talking to camera on a live stream, talking to hundreds of people, that is a human-facing activity. That's about building community. That is about being myself, sitting in my office and presenting myself authentically. We need to be doing a lot more of this as AI fills up the other spaces. So what I want to talk to you about today is specifically around creating content, specifically around public speaking, about using that to build authority, using that to build trust. If you are building a business, if you want to build a personal brand, if you want to just be known for what it is you do, what you create, that's what we're going to be covering today. However, this is more broadly applicable to anything that AI is not very good at that you want to focus on. So let's hop in. So AI can write, but you need to speak. AI is very good at polished content. Polish is cheap now, extremely cheap. So anything that looks too good, anything that's written too well, anything that's a bit too professional is probably going to be AI. And if it is not, it will be assumed that it is artificial intelligence. So if something looks too clean, too tidy, then you'll see the comments down below of whatever the content piece is with people saying AI, AI, and they will not engage with that particular content. And I'm talking about social media here specifically, but this would be the same with billboard advertising. I've already seen this with people saying, nope, not buying that. They've used AI, and other forms of media as well. So whenever AI enters the equation, people tend to switch off, which stops you from getting your message across. And if you are building a business, if you're building a brand, then that's incredibly damaging to what you're doing. So doing things well, doing things cleanly, doing things professionally is extremely easy because of artificial intelligence. These slides that you're looking at right now, these were spun up for me in a couple of minutes. These look like they've been generated by AI because they have been generated by AI for the speed. But in a weird way, if I'd done them by hand in PowerPoint, dragging little shapes around, which would have taken me a lot more time, that would actually be a little bit more engaging nowadays because people are leaning towards things that are human made. So you need to lean into that as well. So polish, extremely cheap. Do not chase polish. If you're creating content, do not chase that because that is no longer what people engage with because it is assumed to be artificial intelligence. What this means is trust is moving from polished content, from things that look professional, to things that look authentic, but also raw, a bit amateur, a little bit kind of crappy. People are moving towards those types of content. And in particular, I'll talk about yapping in a moment, which is something that's happening in social media in particular. We want to trust humans. We want to interact with humans. We want to buy from humans. We want to deal with humans on a daily basis. And anything that's too polished will not get any type of engagement. So what you're going to do is you're going to lean into this. You're going to use your face. You're going to use your voice. You're going to be talking about your opinions, your judgments, your taste. You're going to be interacting with people, giving live answers, answering questions, being an actual human being, which shouldn't be difficult. Increasingly, people are moving away from that because following and using AI is just much, much simpler. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. Obviously, you can get up on stage. Getting on stage is fantastic. That adds a layer of complexity to this. That is about public speaking. That is about being able to master the physiological response of standing in front of 200 people. That is something that comes later. But what you can do to build up your kind of public speaking and your yapping ability is you start by talking to camera. Specifically, I'm going to give you an actual progression here. Start with short form video. So start by talking to TikTok, talking to Instagram, they've just added a new feature in Twitter, which allows you to give video reactions. So just giving your opinions, getting on camera, getting comfortable with talking. And there's a few things mistakes that you will make. I made. If you watch my old videos, I used to be terrible at talking on camera. I'm better now. I'm not perfect, but I'm better. That's all I can say. There will be a few things like the millennial pause when you start a video. If you are older like me, what we tend to do is go and then start talking. Terrible, don't do that. Take a breath, press the record button, and on the exhale, begin talking, or just cut out the millennial pause at the beginning. You will find that there's going to be lots of weird little things like this that you just need to train out of yourself. So doing reels, doing short form videos on TikTok is a really good training ground because it gives you the repetitions. It allows you to every single day shoot a little video. That is tricky if you were trying to practice public speaking by getting up on stage, because you need to book in a bunch of people to come and listen to you. That's hard. That's hard to do off the bat. So we use a short form video on social media just to practice. From here, you can start doing things like what I'm doing right this very second, which is a live stream. The tools are available to pretty much everyone now. I think certain platforms will have a certain limitation, like you need to have a certain number of followers before you can go live, but it's different on all the platforms. But going live, the great thing about that is it is moving you from a modality where you can record, realize, no, that was a bit shit, and delete and take another take. It's shifting you so you have to remain fluid. So if I flub something now, if I start falling over my words, tough. There are now people watching me from across the world on the live stream. So it's tough. I just have to keep going. And what that does is it enforces fluidity, it enforces the ability to continue speaking, which is going to be important if and when you are talking on a stage later, because you can't flub up on the stage and say, oh, sorry, I'm just going to do that again. You can, but not very many times. And then from there, you can do more structured talks, so things like webinars, things like workshops online, and then moving up onto talking on stage. Specifically, what I do is I give workshops, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I'll talk about how I charge $2,000 an hour to go and give workshops about artificial intelligence to businesses. If you go to aiwithkyle.com/webinar, it's going to take you to this site. It is a free workshop. I will be there. It is not an AI Kyle. It is me live. So that's where we're heading to, or where I recommend you head to, because getting paid to speak is a very high leverage skill, especially moving into the future of artificial intelligence. So the key thing here is we're not hiding behind AI. I know there are some very sophisticated tools like HeyGen for making an AI avatar of yourself, 11 Labs for cloning your voice. These are really good tools at what they do. I don't think that's a sensible way to make yourself known. The reason is, as these tools get better, as these tools become more available, as these tools become cheaper, the amount of supply of AI avatars, the supply of faceless video rockets, potentially infinite, because it's very easy to create a huge amount of content using AI. That is just going to flood the market with this kind of low effort content, which is AI avatars and faceless videos, and it's going to decrease the value of that content. People will get sick and tired of it, or there'll just be so much of it that it would be hard to cut through the noise because everyone else is doing it as well. If instead you hop on camera and warts and all, you present your views, whether it's a short form video, whether it's a live stream, whether you're giving a webinar, whatever it is, that is a lot more authentic, a lot more real. Now, you can certainly use AI to prepare. As I've talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I have a whole system behind my kind of content, and there's a very complicated looking systems diagram. This systems diagram is all of the AI processes that happen behind the scenes, but I use AI to leverage my own opinions, my judgment, the videos I create. I will use AI in the background to basically process and do all of the grunt work, so that I have more time to spend doing things like this, talking to camera. So 100% use AI. Just be sophisticated about where you are using it. Don't just use AI to take yourself out of the job, to take yourself literally out of the picture, because that is not going to be a sustainable solution moving forward. Okay, so what I recommend if you want to make money from this is you start by creating content. You're going to go ahead and you're going to create content talking about your niche. So my particular niche is artificial intelligence, and I want to help businesses use artificial intelligence. And I get paid to go and give workshops helping businesses to do this. So a lot of my content is about how to use AI. Nice and simple. For you, it might be something different. It probably is. I want to show you, this is Dr. Katie, for example, who's one of my students, and she does content about AI, but specifically for vets. So she has one here, Vibe Coding for Vets or Newbies, GitHub Part 2. So she's talking specifically into her niche. So I take people from content into something like a live or webinar. As I mentioned, I'm actually giving one to aiwithkyle.com/webinar. And then off the back of that, I will do things like workshops, and I will sell workshops to businesses. So I don't sell to individuals, I sell to businesses, and I get paid. My starting rate is about $2,000 an hour. The most I've charged is about $4,000 an hour, plus flights, plus hotels, etc., etc., etc. But what you're going to do with the content is you're going to use that to get people into your business. You're going to build authority. You're going to build up trust. You're going to get them into an email newsletter. I'm not going to go into the mechanical details. But then from there, you're going to be able to sell and create a business. And if you're not interested in creating a business, you can still use this, use your authenticity, use your voice to have impact. So let's say you're using this to set up a free school where you're going to be educating people for free. Exactly the same principles. Let's say you're using this for charity. Exactly the same principles. You need awareness for your idea, what it is you're doing. And that it's the same game, whether you're charging money or you're not charging money. You have to be able to pull attention and awareness to yourself. So this is the personal loop that I use, and it works very well, and it drives my business. And what I would say, especially when you're starting out, and if you are talking about artificial intelligence, and I'm going to focus on this for now, is don't try to be all things to all people. So Dr. Katie, for example, is Dr. Katie Jackson, vet plus AI. Very, very specific. This is my niche. I am a vet. I'm talking to other veterinarians about artificial intelligence. Very smart. That is a niche rather than talking about all of AI for all the people. That is too broad. Now, again, you might not be talking about AI, you might be talking about some other content, but make sure you have something about you that is unique and talk to your people, the people that you want to have around you, your audience members, and later potentially, again, if you're building a business, your customers. That you need to become the translator. You need to become the person who helps people understand what is happening. One thing I did want to talk about is Yap content. So increasingly, this idea of not necessarily using polish, but instead just getting on camera and talking. It's an incredibly powerful idea in social media, so much so that on Twitter, they've actually added a new feature, which is commentary, react with video. So this is Nikita. He says, commentary is one of the most important pillars of X, and sometimes the best way to share your thoughts is with video. Today, we're launching a whole new way to make them. React with video. Tap the repost button and start recording with green screen, split screen, picture in picture. So basically, you can talk over a tweet. So they are leaning into it over on Twitter. This is something I'm going to try out to see if it works. But this idea of just talking to camera and giving you authentic thoughts is very much counter to what artificial intelligence is pushing, which is a much more polished, much more less human form of talking. So what we're looking at here is something called Yap Content. I'll actually put this video in the newsletter. You can sign up at aiwithkyle.com. This is quite an important video from bonus footage about what Yap Content is. And he talks through why this is taken over, why brands, if you want to run sponsorship deals, this is what they want. They don't want polish, they want somebody yapping to camera. That is what works and holds attention. And he's basically saying, Yap Content Fundamentals. The core truth, it looks casual, but it's actually well thought out. The rawness is the aesthetic, not the process. So you can actually use AI to help you generate the scripts, but then you're going to film them raw. Yap content is usually based on lived experience. Lived experience, you, your life, yourself, as he says here, is ChatGPT proof. Specific, messy details that only you could know. I just left a meeting where my boss said this exact thing, beats generic advice. ChatGPT could not have experienced that meeting. The best Yap videos are built for shares, not just views. People share when they think, finally someone said it, or my friend needs to hear this, or this confirms something I was thinking but didn't know how to articulate. When you're starting out, focus on one clear point. Don't try to sound smart, try to be understood. This is super important. I tend to add too much information into my short form videos. Does not work. You have to make one point, make it well, and stop, and you need to keep it short. This is a problem that I've always had. Public speaking is increasingly important because it is the opposite of artificial intelligence. It is authenticity, it is raw. So how do you actually start doing this? You all have a phone. You all have the TikTok app. People are watching me on TikTok right now. Or you have the Instagram app, or you have a YouTube app, or maybe you have Twitter and X, and now you have access to this React with video interface. Just pull out your telephone and shoot a video using one of these tools. You could do it on your native iOS or Android video recorder. The problem with those, though, is that they don't allow you to do start, stop recording, whereas most of the social media networks have worked this out. That is the best way to get people to record. Basically, you're going to hold the button, deliver a line, a sentence, whatever it is, and then let go of the button. That stops the recording. That allows you to think, okay, I've just said this. What's the next thing I need to say? Cool, got it. And then press the button again, record whatever that is. Maybe that doesn't come out right, or maybe you stumble over your words, or maybe something went wrong. Fine, you can just delete that last segment using the little delete button and re-record it. So I recommend the recording tools inside of the social media applications. And all you're going to do is you're going to focus on one idea, talking to one particular audience. So don't try to talk to everybody. Talk to people like yourself or people who are your customers, and then just record it and publish it. Don't worry about it looking good. We don't want it to look too good. Remember, polish will kill it. We want it to look raw and authentic. And what's more important than this being the perfect video or fantastic video or something that's going to go viral is the creative habit of turning up every day, every couple of days, and recording a video just so you get better at it. If you go back and look at my old videos, they're terrible. If you go back and look at the old videos of someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, so somebody who's been doing this for decades, again, his old videos are a bit rubbish. Of course they are. You only get good at doing something by continuously doing it. So for now, do not overcomplicate it. Do not buy fancy microphones like this. Do not buy a new camera. Just get your phone out. Use an AirPod if you must, if you don't like the microphone on your phone. Record a video. Done. That is absolutely it. You have all of the tools required to start yapping on camera. And I think this is incredibly important, because artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of the other areas of content and engagement from us. So you need to get good at something that AI is not good at, which is being a human, having lived experience. That is an advantage that's going to be really hard to take away from us. So hopefully this has been useful. This will all be in the newsletter, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, it's going to be down below. You can sign up for the newsletter for free at aiwithkyle.com. And remember, if you are watching this live, or if you're watching this later, I've got a webinar talking around this kind of topic, talking about how you can get better at public speaking, how you can find people who will come to your talks, how you can get people to pay, what the demand is, etc. That's at aiwithkyle.com/webinar. So you can sign up for that, and I will see you. If you're watching this later on YouTube, there are still recurring webinars, so check down below and there should be a link for you as well. Cool. Thank you guys, and see you soon.